Hello students, I am Dr. Shambhu Kumar, Assistant Professor, GMC Vidya. Today we will discuss about the very important topics, and that is diabetes mellitus. After that we will also discuss about the treatment protocols, that those are insulin and oral hypoglycemic drug. Nowadays diabetes is a very important and burning things, and many people are suffered by the diabetes mellitus worldwide. And unfortunately, many people are completely unaware of their disease. They are diagnosed at the time of screening in OPD procedures. So first of all, we must know what is diabetes mellitus. Diabetes is a metabolic disorder characterized by hyperglycemia, glycosuria, hyperlipidemia, negative nitrogen balance, and sometimes ketonemia. There are many pathological changes associated with diabetes mellitus, like thickening of capillary basement membrane, increase in vessel wall matrix, and cellular proliferation, resulting in vascular complications like lumen narrowing, early atherosclerosis, sclerosis of glomerular capillaries, retinopathy, neuropathy, and peripheral vascular insufficiency. There are two major types of diabetes mellitus. Type 1 diabetes mellitus, that is also called insulin dependent diabetes mellitus or juvenile onset diabetes mellitus. So in this type there is beta cell destruction in pancreatic islets. So majority of cases are autoimmune type, and antibodies that destroy beta cells are detectable in blood. But this type is less common and has a low degree of genetic predisposition. About 10% total patient of diabetes are type 1. Now type 2, that is also called non-insulin dependent diabetes mellitus or NIDDM or maturity onset diabetes mellitus. In this condition, there is no loss or moderate reduction in beta cell mass. So insulin in circulation is low, normal, or even high. No anti-beta cell antibody is demonstrable, and the onset is late. Over 90% cases of diabetes are type 2 diabetes mellitus patient. So also there are some physiology that are associated with type 2 diabetes are abnormality in glucoreceptor of beta cells, so that they respond at higher glucose concentration, or there is relative beta cells deficiency. Second one is the reduced sensitivity of peripheral tissues to insulin. So reduction in number of insulin receptors. It is also called down regulation of insulin receptors. Third type is also very important, that is maturity onset diabetes of young, that is also called MODY types, and there is also gestational diabetes. It may be classified as type 4. Now we want to discuss about the criteria for the diagnosis of diabetes mellitus. That means how we can diagnose or clear a patient that he is diabetic or not. So for their diagnosis, 2 to 3 important parameters are very important. That is fasting plasma glucose. The normal value of fasting plasma glucose is 100 milligram per day. If the blood sugar level in fasting stage is 100 to 125 milligram per deciliter, then it will be called impaired glucose tolerance. These are generally pre-diabetics. When the fasting plasma glucose level is more than 126 mg per deciliter, it will be declared as diabetes mellitus. Now 2 hours after glucose load, that is also called oral glucose tolerance test. The normal value is 140 milligram per day and less, and if the 2 hours after glucose load the blood sugar level is 140 to 199 milligram per dl, it will be declared as impaired glucose tolerance. And if the 2 hour load glucose load is more than 200 milligram per deciliter, the patient will be called diabetic or diabetes mellitus patient. Now the random plasma glucose, it can also be investigated by the doctor, and if the value of RPG, that is random plasma glucose, is more than 200 milligram per dl, it will also be classified as diabetes mellitus. And the very important thing, that is glycosylated hemoglobin, that is HbA1c. The normal value of glycosylated hemoglobin is less than 5.7, and if it is 5.7 to 6.4, it will be impaired glucose tolerance, and if it is more than 6.5, it will be declared as diabetic patient. So these are the some criteria for diagnosis of diabetes mellitus, as well as there are many clinical features that are associated with the diabetes. These clinical features are polyphagia, increased thirst, frequent urination, unexplained weight loss, blurred vision, and sometimes sore does not heal properly, tingling and numbness in the hands and foot, and frequent urinary tract infection. So these are the clinical features. So the clinical features and criteria for diagnosis of DM, these both clarify the patient is diabetic or not. Now comes, and we want to discuss about the treatment protocols of the diabetes mellitus. We classify the treatment into non-pharmacological treatment and pharmacological treatments. In non-pharmacological treatments, the most important thing is a lifestyle modification. The second one thing is the diet control, and third one is the physical activities. These three are very important parameters that must be done by the diabetic patient to be in the controlled blood sugar level. So first of all, a patient of diabetes must take the diet which are less in glycemic index, that is like the fibrous foods like whole grains, ragi, jowar, barley, oats, etc., whole pulses, soybean, green leafy vegetables. These have low glycemic index and they must be taken by the patient. The high carbohydrate containing diet should be avoided by the patient. Glycemic index indicates the extent of rise in blood glucose in response to a food. Second thing about the physical activities. The at least 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity must be done by the all people, especially the diabetic patient, for their diabetes to be controlled. Now two very risk factors are also associated with diabetes mellitus, like smoking, alcohol intake, obesity, and increased body weight, as well as the increased abdominal fat. These are the cause of insulin resistance. So these things also be in the mind for the proper control of diabetes mellitus. Now we discuss about the insulin. Insulin and oral hypoglycemics, these are the drugs that are important for the treatment of diabetes mellitus. when the discovery of insulin was done by Banting and Best in 1921, and it was the great revolution in the management of diabetes in 20th century. Insulin is a polypeptide hormone of two chains. Chain A consisting of 21 amino acids and beta chain consisting of 30 amino acids. The amino acid sequence of the insulin molecule is unique to the particular species. For example, the amino acid sequence of bovine, porcine and human insulin are shown here. In human, in chain A, the 8th amino acid is threonine and 10th amino acid isoleucine. In beta chain, the 30th amino acid is threonine. So after that, in pork, we see the A chain contains threonine at the 8th amino acid and isoleucine at the 10th amino acid and alanine at the 30th amino acid in beta chain. In beef, the 8th amino acid contains alanine. In 10th amino acid, there is valine, and in beta chain, the 3rd amino acid contains alanine. So, pork insulin is more homologous to human insulin than beef insulin. This explains why bovine insulin is more immunogenic when used in humans compared to porcine insulin. So, now the types of insulin. Species specific. According to the species of origin, insulin can be classified as bovine, porcine, or human insulin. Bovine and porcine insulin are manufactured from beef and pork, and human insulin is produced by recombinant DNA technology using yeast or E. coli bacteria. Purity of insulin is measured in terms of proinsulin content and host cell proteins, which affect the immunogenicity of insulin. Insulin is also classified according to time, duration, and its effect. By adding retarding agents like zinc and protamine, the time of onset of and duration of action of regular insulin can be prolonged, making it long-acting. The physical characteristics. The regular insulin is usually clear, and intermediate insulin is usually cloudy. The potency is very important. The insulin in India, they are available in a strength of U40, that is 40 unit per ml, and U100, that is 100 unit per ml. The important thing that would be remembered is that each insulin should be used with a corresponding insulin syringe, otherwise serious dosing errors may occur. Now the insulin preparations. Regular insulin, it is the most commonly used short-acting insulin. The onset of action is 30 to 60 minutes, peak of action is 2 to 3 hours, and duration of action is 4 to 8 hours. It should be given 30 to 45 minutes before food. The usage, it is used as a postnatal insulin in hyperglycemic emergency and in insulin pumps, for perioperative control in major surgeries, as part of glucose insulin potassium infusion in case of renal failure. Now come to the neutral protamine hagedon, that is NPH insulin. In NPH insulin, the most commonly used intermediate acting insulin, it is NPH. It starts its action in 1 to 2 hours, peaks is 4 to 8 hours, and duration of action is 10 to 16 hours. But the disadvantage with NPH insulin is that if it is given before dinner, it can cause nocturnal hypoglycemia. So these insulin should be given just before bedtime. Now pre-mixed insulin, combination of regular and NPH insulin are available as 30-70, 25-75 and 50-50 proportion. But the disadvantage of pre-mixed insulin is that the pre-mixed insulin, it has lack of flexibility and adjusting dosage. Now rapid acting analogs, that is Lispro. Here the B28 proline and B29 lysine amino acid sequence is reversed to lysine proline, which reduces the dimerization factors 300 times. In aspartate, the B28 amino acid proline is substituted with aspartic acid, and glulicine. Here the asparagine at position B3 is replaced by lysine, and the lysine in position B29 is replaced by glutamic acid. The onset of action of short-acting analog is 5 to 15 minutes, peaks in half an hour, half to 2 hours, and their action lasts for 2 to 4 hours or 5 hours. The advantages: the convenient administration just prior to meals, faster onset of action, decreased postprandial hyperglycemic peaks, shorter duration of activity, therefore reduces late postprandial hypoglycemia and helps in cases of hypoglycemia unawareness. But these insulin are expensive. Now we discuss about the long or intermediate acting insulin. The long acting insulin like glargine, detemir and degludec. Here we see the aspartate 821 is substituted with glycine, which increase the viability. Also, two arginine molecules are added at position B30, which shift the isoelectric point of insulin from pH 5.4 to 7.4, thus making glargine insoluble at physiological pH. One shot of insulin glargine provides basal insulin for 20 to 24 hours, making it true once a day insulin. The advantages of glargine. The advantage of glargine is once a day dose. It is virtually peakless, fewer hypoglycemic episodes. But the disadvantage is it is expensive, cannot be mixed with regular insulin. Most patients require additional shot or rapid acting insulin for control of postprandial spikes. Similarly, the detemir, the onset of action is 60 minutes and the duration of action is 20 to 24 hours. And the best thing is that it is peakless. It has advantage. It has reduced risk of hypoglycemia, predictable and reproducible effect on blood sugars. It has less weight gain and reproduces physiological basal insulin action. Now the degludec. This is a very novel, ultra long acting basal insulin analog recently made available in India, and it is currently licensed for once daily usage. It can be dosed on flexible day basis at different times on different days. Incidence of hypoglycemia is claimed to be lower than that of even insulin glargine. Now we discuss about the side effect of insulin therapy. Hypoglycemia is the major dose limiting side effect of insulin therapy. All insulin preparation can cause hypoglycemia at their peak action. It therefore follows that glargine, detemir and degludec are relatively free of this side effect since they are peakless. Hypoglycemia is usually seen 2 to 3 hours after use of regular insulin and 8 to 10 hours after use of NPH insulin. Now the hypoglycemia due to insulin can occur due to the reasons like error in insulin dosage, which can be inadvertent. After that, facetious insulin injections, improper timing of food in relation to insulin, use of more purified insulin, example, change to a human insulin or shift from pre-mixed to regular insulin, by missing a meal after injection and by giving large dosage of insulin. So these things may cause hypoglycemia. Weight gain is another side effect of insulin. This effect is more if insulin is combined with sulfonylurea or thiazolidinedione. Insulin allergy, lipoatrophy, and lipohypertrophy. These are the other uncommon side effects of insulin therapy. Now, one thing that we want to discuss is what is the goals of insulin therapy. The main goal is to prevent acute metabolic complications like DKA, to eliminate symptoms, to improve work and exercise capacity, to reduce risk of infection, to ensure healing and repair of post-operative wounds, to restore the body mass and increase weight, to improve quality of life and sense of well-being, to ensure to continue good glycemic control even when there is oral antidiabetic failure, and to prevent and arrest long-term microvascular as well as macrovascular complications, and to reduce the maternal and fetal morbidity and mortality in pregnant women with diabetes. Now, what are the indications of insulin therapy? The absolute indication. We want to discuss about the absolute indication. That is type 1 diabetes. And in type 1 diabetes, insulin is one and the only effective treatment for the management of type 1. In type 2 diabetes, if there is oral anti-diabetic drug failure, primary or secondary, gestational diabetes, it is especially used in case of gestational diabetes mellitus. So, and the very important thing that in type 2 diabetes mellitus, these are used for the acute infection, surgery, acute myocardial infarction, stroke and fever, acute emergency like diabetic ketoacidosis and labor, delivery, emotional and physical stress, high blood sugar at presentation. If there is weight loss, if renal and hepatic failure, renal transplant patient and patient on steroids and pre-operative control. So these are the important things that we have discussed. And one thing that is alternative modes of insulin administration. These are the insulin pumps. These are the devices resembling a pen, and so this name is insulin pen. They are more accurate, faster and easier dosing mechanism than conventional syringes. Moreover, they need not be refrigerated and can be kept at room temperature. Second thing, insulin pump or continuous subcutaneous insulin infusion can be used. So, students, we have discussed about the introduction of diabetes, their clinical feature, criteria for diagnosis, treatment protocols, and insulin. In next class, we will discuss about the oral hypoglycemic drugs and some more important features of the diabetes. So, thank you.